Dr. Bam, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the agenda.
Morning.
Now, do you want to share with us, your fondest recollections and memories you've had of George Bizos?
Yes, indeed. I think my first comment about this man would be, for me, he was the most loved person, as a person, respected. And we loved his humility and his soft voice. You felt very comfortable in his company because you felt here is someone who really makes you feel you are somebody. You are somebody, and he's prepared to give you all the respect and will listen so very attentively. And you don't feel that since you're talking to this famous lawyer, you have to sound terribly clever. Very approachable person. My first contact was through my own family when my brother, who is now gone, left us, Brigalia Bam, who was a judge. When he was released from Robben Island many, many years ago, we were advised to talk to him because he was having great difficulties on his admission. And I would then engage with him in long conversations because we had to make arrangements for payment and all that. And there was this person who is not putting any pressure about the money you are expected to pay and is more concerned about solving the problem. And this was a very, very wonderful experience to work with this kind of caring lawyer who himself, his own right, has such an insight what it means to be a prisoner in South Africa and struggling to be admitted into his profession, and his advice and counseling. And then the later years, then I had an opportunity to work closely with him when I was on the staff of the South African Council of Churches. And he was in charge at the time with Justice Chakalsin of the. I have never seen anything like such caring people who ran out of money as the South African Council of Churches, and we had to get money. We hadn't paid them for some months, and there they were waiting for us. Never made any demands. And for months and months, there was no payment coming through because we were relying on the donors who would give us the kind of money. Okay. And that was an amazing experience. They were relaxed. They knew that one day we would pay. And then a lighter note is the recalling of the day Mandela was released. We were all in Soweto. We were all singing and dancing in Soweto. And that was the first time we were even bold enough to say we would like to have a dance with him. The mood was amazing. And this activist trying a step with us in the middle of Soweto while we are waiting for Mandela to be flown over from Cape Town and come to Johannesburg. And in the later years, we were serving together in a number of small committees, and the wisdom and experience and the commitment. An amazing person. I think this man was a really gift to our nation at a time of a journey in South Africa when we, as many people of South Africa, with the black people, were trying to discover our own dignity and be freed from apartheid. We will always remember him. He remained a pillar of strength to us, and we loved him so much.
You know, Dr. Bam, just listening to you, I can't help notice the kind of fondness that you have of Mr. George Bizos. And you described him as a lawyer, but also someone who you could turn to for moral and other forms of support. Could you elaborate on this?
You know, when you engage in a conversation with Bizos, you are not engaging with him that he is speaking to you about law.
Yeah.
The conversations with him, the discussions with him, any form, whether it's a dialogue on anything, it's a concern on issues of justice. I am not exaggerating that my contacts with him had never been on the debates on the legality, or which the normal thing people would do with a lawyer. But you're talking to a human being, a caring human being, really, truly, at ease, and with very deep, genuine sincerity, which comes through his voice, which comes through his body language. Bizos was just so special, really.
Okay, so what is George Bizos' biggest gift to South Africa?
There are many, but one, to me, greatest gift was to be part. And I'm saying this in a maybe I will not be able to express it maybe so very well, was to be part of our suffering as black people. Bizos wasn't talking about them and about their freedom, and wasn't talking about racism and all the struggles of apartheid. He saw himself as part of our suffering. He saw himself as part of our humiliation, and saw himself as part of us as a suffering people. We will not only remember him as somebody who was there with energy for protesting, yes, which he did, with a lot of energy for legal wisdom, but he was so human that on the day the judge announced in court, at the end of the court of the Delmas trial, he wept.
Yeah.
I had never seen this. I'd never seen, I'm old enough to see a lawyer, a judge, weeping at the end of a trial after the judge had passed the judgment. It just shows you how human, how he will be remembered as this wonderful humanist committed to the dignity of every human being in this country.
Okay, let me take you back to 2013 upon the death of Mr. Nelson Mandela, where Mr. George Bizos spoke at that memorial service, and he expressed his disappointment and disillusionment at South Africa's swerve towards corruption and misrule about 2 decades after the first democratic election in 1994. How do you think Mr. George Bizos felt about the current state of politics in South Africa?
I didn't have much contact with him, especially in the last few years. I think our committee had met for some time. We were not so well, I refer to them as current, but the corruption has been there in the last. But I can imagine, because I didn't actually hear him make a comment on that in particular. But so really mine will be just the guess, because he was somebody with such dignity. He must have been very disappointed. Yeah. I think I'm really assuming that, because I didn't engage myself with him on this corrupt thing. But claiming to have had this contact with him on many, many occasions, both social occasions as well as working committees and things, he must have been very, very disappointed.
And he was a father figure to so many South Africans, including yourselves, and can be credited for having helped towards bringing about freedom for South Africa. How then do you think South Africa should remember him?
Oh, they should remember him as probably one of the greatest people who have seen during this period of what I call a human rights activist of the kind, a pillar of our hope at that time that things would change, because I think that really was at that time in our history, of a long history of apartheid, we needed someone, and he was one of those people who kept our hope that one day things will change in our nation. And not only was he hoping, but he worked and made sure that the changes will come. He engaged in all kinds of events, engaged before and, of course, even afterwards. He remained there to accompany us to the journey of democracy. I remember with him many of our conversations related to the elections. And I remember him with complimenting the Electoral Commission and us for the way we were conducting elections with such warmth and such love. And those are the many things that we will always remember him, that he was part of us. He celebrated for us even the victory.
All right, Dr. Brigalia Bam, thank you so much for sharing your reflections with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Indeed, that was Dr. Brigalia Bam, who is the former Independent Electoral Commission chairperson, just sharing her thoughts and her fondest memories that she has with the fallen hero, George Bizos. And there are very few